Here's the definition for statistics. What statistics is a branch of mathematics where you look at data, analyze data, and you make statements or estimates based on that data. So statistics are very important in our daily lives. People use them all over the place, from lots of statistics in sports. In sports, they use statistics to try to figure out, will this player be good for our team or not for our team? They use statistics in business. They do surveys to find out what people want to buy and what people don't want to buy. They use statistics to make clothes. When you go to a store, there will be more of some sizes than other sizes because they know that there are more people of one size than another size. So they use those statistics because they don't want a whole bunch of size extra, extra, extra small left over in the end, because there aren't that many people that are super, super, super thin. There are some, but not a ton. And so those things come into effect. Population. Our population is the entire set of data that you're trying to figure out. So if I wanted to figure out the results of what students in our school think, then my population is the whole school. If I want to find out what Winnipeggers think, then the population is all of Winnipeg. So depending on what you're trying to find out, your population, the entire set of items which data is taken, could be different. But often in statistics, if you want to figure out what Canadians think, it doesn't make sense to ask every single Canadian because it would take too long. Does that make sense? And so you have to take a sample, a portion of the population. And this is where things can get tricky, because if you want to find out what Canadians think and you only ask people in Quebec, it might not be the same result as if you only ask people in Alberta. And so if you want to find out what all Canadians think, your sample has to make sure it comes from all areas of the population. Right? If I want to find out what Canadians think and I decide to ask people from all over the population, but I only ask girls in grade 5, and use that result to say this is what Canadians think across the country, it would be different. So you need to ask young and old, men, women, girls, boys. If you want a complete sample that isn't biased, it has to represent the population. So that's a sample. In a census, they take data from the entire population. Every so often, Canada does a census. And every adult in Canada has to fill out the form to get data for Statistics Canada.
But what if they don't want data?
Bias. When a sample doesn't represent the entire population. So my example of choosing grade 5 girls to say what all Canadians think, that probably wouldn't represent the entire population of Canada. Or if you choose people just from a part of Canada, different parts of Canada have different viewpoints. Okay. Identify the population and indicate a sample. So here's our first statement. Our first statement says that a politician has the support of the party. That's the statement. According to that statement, you have to think, what are we talking about? What is the population in this situation? And then if you wanted to find out if they actually do have the support of the party, what could you do as a sample. So in this example, politician has the support of the party. The party is who you're asking about, right? If you wanted to know if Donald Trump has the support of the Republican Party, you're not going to ask Democrats because they're not part of the Republican Party, right? You're not going to ask Canadians. They're not part of the Republican Party. But if you want to know if he has the support of his party, you have to ask his party. So the population in this case, and you can write it down, would be the party. If you wanted to take a sample, you could take a random sample. Maybe 10 people wouldn't quite be enough. Maybe I'd increase it to 100 people or 1,000 people. The bigger your sample, the closer your results will be to the actual thing. This one. Our school wants to know how many grade 9s are an oldest child. Okay? So you have to think, according to that statement, what's the population that they're looking at, and what would be a sample that you could use to find it out. Okay, Logan, what is our population in this question? Want to pass it on to someone else?
Yeah.
Who are you going to pick?
No.
She said no. All the grade 9s. Right? Population is who you're talking about. So the population is all the grade 9s in the school. It's not all the grade 9s in Canada. It's not all the grade 9s in the world, because it's our school that wants to figure it out. So really specifically, it's all the grade 9s in the school. Now, if you wanted to find a sample, what could you do? Justin, pick someone. Someone to tell me a sample. Luke, what would be a sample that you could find out? A survey of who? No, like, a survey is how you would do it, but the sample is who are you going to ask? All of them? Then it would be a census. A sample is not all of the grade 9s, but some of the grade 9s. 100 grade 9s? So you could do that. Pick 100 grade 9s. Does it make sense that you could like choose 4 random grade 9 classes? Would that work? That would be a sample. We could choose this class. How many of you are an oldest child? We got 1. Everybody else has an older sibling. Interesting. I would have thought the results would be higher. Okay. The next section we look in is if we're going to collect data for a survey. There are some factors that could affect it. All right, so here. Scrolling down, I'll read this to you because it's a little small. A superfood employee provides samples of Bob Bratt sausages to customers between 5 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. for one day. Store employees ask customers who buy Bob Bratt sausages the following question. Did you buy Bob Bratt sausages because they are delicious, quick to prepare, or both delicious and quick to prepare. Okay. So there could be some problems with what's happening here. What's that? Well, the question is asking, did you buy it because they're delicious, because they're quick to prepare, or both delicious and quick to prepare? Part of the problem there is they don't really give you any other options, right? And all the options are positive. So when they only give you 3 positive options, do you think the results from their survey will be positive? Right? If you want good results for your product, you could say, did you buy this pencil sharpener because of its beautiful design or because it works so well? And then I could say my results are, people bought this because they said it was designed beautifully. Other people bought it because they said it works so well, right? So there's a problem in the question there in how it's asked. Do you think you can also bias people after you give them a free sample? Right? Right, if I take out my wallet and put $5 on your desk and say, do you like this math class? Right? Do you think that could bias you to say one thing or another? Maybe. You'd take it and say no? Yeah. I would just let you take it and make you take the course again? No. So there are several factors that can influence how responses are obtained. This is in your textbook on page 415, so you don't have to write it down, but we'll just talk about it right now. First of all, bias. This is going to be a main thing that we're going to talk about. Does the question show a preference about the specific product? In this one, yes, there's a preference about it being delicious, a preference about it being quick to prepare. Okay? Use of language. Okay? Is the question presented in such a way that people understand what is being asked? Okay? So here, I'm going to do a survey about math teachers. Right? I could start off by saying, all the math teachers at Sturgeon suck. Do you like your math teacher? Do you see that what I did at the beginning of the question would probably make you feel like you should say no? Because if you would say yes, you're like, you like sucky teachers? No. So the language that you use in a question can affect which one do you like, right? If I want to ask, what do you like better, Tim Hortons coffee or McDonald's coffee, right? That is perfectly unbiased between the two of them. If I say instead, what do you like better, savory Tim Hortons coffee or bland McDonald's coffee? All of a sudden I made one better than the other, and that language creates a bias. Ethics. Does the question refer to inappropriate behavior? Is it fair to ask that question? So you could ask something that is not appropriate to ask of someone, and that could bias the results. Or the cost. When you're looking at a survey, if it costs way too much, it may not be worth doing. Like if you have to pay someone to ask people questions, okay, right? It may not be worth it to find out, do you like the color blue? I'm going to ask 2 million Canadians this question. Why? Time and timing. Does the time the data were collected influence the results? Is the timing of the survey appropriate? Okay? I could go to Costco on Sunday afternoon and then interview people if they think they have good service at Costco while they've been standing in line for 25 minutes. I'll get different results than if I ask people who just tasted some delicious sample at Costco on a day where there's no lineups. Okay? Privacy. Do people have the right to refuse to answer? Is their answer confidential? That could affect the results. And finally, cultural sensitivity. Okay? You could ask questions that don't fit a culture. For example, you could ask about a religious holiday to another religion that doesn't celebrate that holiday. That wouldn't necessarily be a good use or a good way to collect the data. Okay. So here we've got some multiple choice questions. I want you to read them, think about your results, and see which is the influencing factor here. Anonymous survey. Students were asked, do you agree that everyone should become a vegetarian? In this survey, which might be a problem? Is it because of a culture? I don't like it when multiple choice questions do this. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the answers don't match up.
Yeah, I hate it.
They should, if you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, then A should be 1, B should be 2. That's my opinion. But do you agree that everyone should become a vegetarian? Okay. Do you agree? Using the word agree in the question, that language tends to make someone think they should agree. It's not a huge problem in this question, but you could reword this by just saying, should everyone become a vegetarian? Right? Instead of, do you agree? That little tiny bit, they say that that little tiny bit causes people to agree more than disagree. Because generally it's human nature not to want to disagree with someone, even if you don't really care about the question. Ms. Koplik interviewed her students and asked each one how much he or she was given each week as an allowance. In this survey, what might be a problem? Got an idea? What do you guys think? Privacy. Okay. Another thing they could have put up for this one is ethics. Right? Is it appropriate for me as a teacher to know how much money you're getting as an allowance? Right? In late November, Anita surveyed every student in her class to find out their famous Christmas carols. Which of the following might be a problem? So a lot of people that, like statistics because it's a little bit of break from all the algebra and stuff, and it's more trying to see if you can some common sense in there. What do you think the problem with this survey would be? Cultural sensitivity, right? Not everybody sings Christmas carols or celebrates Christmas in that same way. The Christmas carols in themselves are fairly connected to religion, so this one wouldn't be culturally sensitive. Omar asked his classmates the following question. Don't you think apartment buildings should allow residents to have cats? Which of the following might be a problem? Okay, again, just like before, and before it said language, this don't you think part affects you to say, yes, I should agree. So that becomes a bias. So last time they said language, this time the answer calls it a bias. A cosmetic company wants to determine which eyeshadow colors are preferred by the readers of a certain fashion magazine. What is the population they are interested in surveying? Okay. So there's some good answers in here that could get you thinking one way or the other. Right? You've got, it's about eyeshadow, so is it people who wear eyeshadow? It's about a magazine, so is it people who buy the magazine? Or is it just people who read the magazine? Or are they interested in what the experts say? Well, in this case, they're looking at people who read the magazine. If you read the statement, it says which eyeshadow colors are preferred by the readers, and so that part is telling you the population is the readers of the magazine. A college wants to estimate the number of high school students who will enroll in September. Which data collection method would provide the most accurate information? You could survey a sample of grade 12 students from one local high school. You could survey a sample of grade 12 students from all the local high schools. Survey all the grade 12 students from the local high schools and survey all the grade 12 students from one local high school. Okay. So probably it says the most accurate. You'll get the most accurate if you ask everybody, all the students. That's how you get the most accurate. This might not be the best method because it might cost too much, right? I might say, and time would take too much. I would say number 2 might be the best method. You're just going to get a sample of grade 12 students from all the schools. It's not good just to ask one school, right? Because if you ask the school that's very far away from the college, you might not get very many going there. If you ask the school that's right next to the college, there might be more people that are thinking of going there. So your data results could be bad. For a science project, groups of grade 9 students each analyzed a sample of water from a local stream. Group P collected samples every Monday morning before school. Group Q collected samples at different times every Tuesday. Group R collected samples before school on different days, and Group S collected samples at different times on different days. Which group will produce the most reliable information?
That's because it's different times and different days. It's not like a certain day.
Group S, because they're doing different times on different days. So it'll give you a more accurate result of what's happening rather than the same time every day. Okay? The local sewage goes into the, is it a river? Local stream. Local sewage goes into the stream every Sunday night. And then Group P collected samples Monday morning. That's why they were called Group P. Anyways. Here are some more examples that we can just talk about. These ones come from your textbook. Helen and Andre are reviewing the data collection method used by a marketing company. Help them identify any influencing factors. So part A. Okay, a sales representative stands in front of a display of different kinds of toothpaste. He asks every person buying toothpaste the following question. What is your favorite brand of toothpaste? For what reasons? Okay? Does that seem not too bad? Do you see any problems with that one? That could affect it? I would say that one sounds fairly good, don't you think? Like he's not influencing you in one way or the other. Okay, let's look at B. Free samples of sunscreen are sent to every home in fall and winter. And then they ask if they would use the product again. Any issues in that one? When do you use sunscreen?
Only in the daytime when you go to the beach.
So how much have you gone to the beach in the last week? None. Oh, how disappointing. Right? It's only those hardcore people, you see them out there on Grand Beach these days. Right, the timing in this one, the fact that they do it in fall and winter and say, will you use it again? It's sort of like, it's winter. I'm not using sunscreen very much right now. Okay, part C. Grocery store employee conducts a telephone survey of people living within 10 kilometers of the store. To determine what meat products to sell, she asks them what type of red meat people prefer. Logan.
Why do you look like that?
What are your opinions on that one? We're on part C. Is there any kind of issues in data collection in that one? Doug?
People like all around the city instead of people who are close, because if they're close, then most likely.
Right, we're looking only at people close. Okay, although those are the people that are going to be shopping at your store, so you might be more interested in them. They're only looking at red meat, so that doesn't help you sell, like it says what kind of meat products, but if you only ask them what kind of red meat they prefer, that could affect the results because they're not going to say chicken or things like that. Okay. D, a salesperson. We're on D. Okay. A salesperson conducts a telephone survey. As she poses the question, a person receiving the call says, I'm not interested, thank you. The salesperson responds, why not? Your input provides useful information. And she begins to repeat the question. Have you ever had this before? Where you like answer the phone and there's some sort of survey and they just keep asking things? Okay. They're not giving the person the right to refuse to answer the question. Sometimes with those phone surveys, I have to admit, I lie a little bit. I'm like, I'm really not, or they're trying to sell me something. I'm like, I'm really not interested in your furnace. So I say, oh, we just got a furnace installed last week. And they're like, oh, okay, bye. I'm like, yes. Yeah, they just keep phoning and phoning and phoning. Your school is under construction and is quite dusty and dirty. A survey is conducted about the environmental health of your school. The survey is done every 4 years. All right, Logan, what do you think some of the issues are in that one? Okay, so they're doing this survey every 4 years, so it's not up to date. So they're doing a new one. But what's the problem with doing the new one? What do you think, Duncan?
They're doing it while it's repaired, so that's not really a fair survey if they're doing it while it's being repaired.
Yeah, will people give results that our school is dirtier than normal? Yes. And if they only do it every 4 years, then they're going to say that, think that it's dirty for 4 years. So. And finally, a sales representative sets up an online survey. The survey offers free MP3 file of a song that was downloaded from the to everyone who completes the survey. Okay? And the company has not brought the rights to the song, so there's an ethical problem there, giving away something that's not theirs. They're also sort of bribing people to do the survey. Okay, so here is the question for the survey that's biased. It has influencing factors. It says the proposed mill will produce 250 jobs and economic benefits for your community. Are you in favor of having a forward-thinking steel mill in your community? Can you see that this one is super biased right now? What answer do you think most people would say if they read this, got this question? They're going to pick yes, because they're like, oh, this is economic benefits, it's got jobs. Are we in favor of a forward-thinking steel mill in community, right? How do you take all of that out of that question? How could you ask the same question without all of those influencing factors? Just make it simple, right? Do you think you should have a steel mill in your community? And then the person has to decide for themselves, well, what's good about it, what's bad about it. They have to do that research for themselves. Maybe they would have to even be able to say, I don't know. I don't know if that would be good or bad, right? Yes, it would bring jobs, but maybe there would be some environmental things that could be a problem. Okay, so take out your textbooks.